If you love to learn, but you've ever hit a massive, seemingly insurmountable educational roadblock, well, you are in exactly the right place. Today, in this explainer, we're unpacking a really fascinating story about an educational turnaround. It's a transformative moment we're calling the O-Step Epiphany. We're going to map out this incredible journey from a devastating low point straight to massive success in systems research. Okay, let's dive right into this. Have you ever completely bombed a major interview? I mean, we've all been there, right? Or at least we can imagine the sheer terror of it. You prep, you study for hours, you walk into the room or, join the virtual call, and suddenly your mind just goes entirely blank. Or maybe worse, the interviewer asks a question that exposes a gap in your knowledge so wide you could literally drive a truck through it. It is a crushing, almost universal human feeling to face a high-stakes test or interview and just hit an absolute brick wall. And that uncomfortable feeling of failing when it matters most? That's exactly where our story begins today.
Section 1. Failing the technical interview. The catalyst of failure.
Now, this wasn't just a minor slip-up. This student hit an impenetrable wall trying to break into a highly complex, deeply technical field. The gatekeepers basically told them, flat out, no. And the feedback was honestly brutal. They were told they failed a major interview due to incompetence. Shaken. I really want to emphasize that word for a second. Incompetence. It's a harsh, incredibly loaded reality that makes most people just pack up their bags, change their major, or switch career paths entirely. But that initial intimidation and fear, it was actually just setting the stage. Section 2. The O-Step Epiphany, Finding the Right Tool. So here's where the whole story flips from that heavy feeling of defeat to genuine curiosity. Because the absolute best part of this narrative is that the student didn't give up. They didn't just keep banging their head against the exact same wall. They completely changed their approach. We call this the O-Step Epiphany. It was a pivotal moment of realization sparked by discovering the highly accessible teaching style of a specific textbook, Operating Systems 3 Easy Pieces, which is often abbreviated as O-Step. This book, it wasn't just a dry collection of facts. It was the exact key needed for the lock that was blocking the student's mind. Let's break down the mechanics of why this particular book worked like magic. O-Step broke through the student's fear using 3 main pillars. First, a highly accessible teaching style. Second, deliberately demystifying complex concepts rather than, hiding behind academic jargon. And third, relying on clear analogies. Actually, that last point is absolutely vital. When a really difficult subject is explained through an analogy you already intuitively understand, your brain literally stops panicking and finally starts processing. Moving to Section 3. From fear to passion, consolidation and transformation. Now, reading a great textbook is one thing, but passive reading just isn't enough to secure a career, or frankly, to permanently erase the sting of a failed interview. The next absolutely crucial step was consolidating that newly accessible, demystified knowledge through a final foundational project. The student moved from simply feeling a bit less intimidated to actually rolling up their sleeves and building something based on those core concepts. You don't master systems research just by reading about it. You master it by doing it. And the O-Step book gave them the confidence to finally take that action. This is just a brilliant illustration of a total 180-degree turnaround. We go from a student who is deeply intimidated, shaken, and burdened by that awful feeling of being incompetent, straight to someone who is passionate, actively mastering incredibly complex concepts, and ultimately thriving in systems research. It goes to show the sheer power of matching the right educational resource with actual practical application. Section 4. Reshaping Career Trajectories. The ultimate takeaway. While the microstory of this specific student is super fascinating, the broader lesson here is what I really want you to walk away with today. This is a fundamental lesson about how targeted, well-designed educational resources have the power to entirely reshape a person's career trajectory. Trace this complete redemption arc with me, step by step. First, the crushing interview rejection due to perceived incompetence. Second, the massive epiphany of discovering the O-Step textbook. Third, consolidating that hard-won confidence with a hands-on project. And finally, step 4, achieving a thriving, successful career in systems research. It's a perfectly structured pathway that proves, without a doubt, that the initial failure was never actually the end of the road. So the big so what? The absolute crucial point here is this.
Incompetence is often just a symptom of mismatched teaching materials, not a lack of innate ability. I want to connect this directly back to you for a second. If you are hitting a brick wall right now in your studies, your career, or maybe a new skill you're trying to pick up, please hear this. That feeling of incompetence might simply mean you just haven't found your version of the O-Step textbook yet. You haven't found the resource that speaks your language and uses the clear analogies your brain specifically needs to unlock the whole concept. Which leaves us with this final, pretty provocative thought. What intimidating subject could you master with the exact right resource? Think about that thing you've always told yourself you just aren't smart enough to understand. Maybe it's computer science, maybe it's advanced calculus, or maybe even learning a new language. What if your past failures were literally just a symptom of bad resources? Go out there, stay incredibly curious, and find the tool that sparks your very own epiphany. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer. Keep learning, keep seeking out great structure, and I'll catch you next time.